As I say here, talking about DK Metcalf being the next all-time great Calvin Johnson, Julio Jones, Andre Johnson level, physical specimen type receiver. How the fuck did the NFL let him fall to the 64th pick? I know that he had like a Tom Brady level 3 cone drill, and I know that he had injuries in college, but when you just look at DK Metcalf, 6'3", 230 pounds, runs a great 40, I just don't see how you let him fall to the 64th pick. I'm not trying to do a hindsight's 2020 kind of thing, because for me, from a prospect level, I could completely, on draft day, I could completely warrant drafting Hollywood Brown, N'Keal Harry, AJ Brown, and Deebo Samuel over him. Those were all great prospects. They all ran fine at the combine, had great production, great early production. Not so much Hollywood Brown, but he's like that speed kind of guy. On the Oklahoma offense. They were all legit wide receiver 1 prospects and top 50 level picks. Pre-draft, we all knew that DK Metcalf was in that exact tier of players. He was with the AJ Brown, N'Keal Harry, Deebo Samuel, Hollywood Brown tier. In college, as a sophomore, he was an elite deep threat guy with over 20 yards per reception. Then you also have him run a 4.33, so he's already a Deshaun Jackson level deep threat in the body of Julio Jones. So as an NFL evaluator, how do you not just take the elite deep threat with the body of a red zone target and just sell yourself on molding him into the next great wide receiver, similar to like kind of how the Bills, they take Josh Allen, oh yeah, we'll mold him into that next like big arm, big body kind of guy like Justin Herbert, Carson Wentz. Why not do the same thing with that wide receiver? It's not like he wasn't getting the hype. I remember the morning that he ran that 40 time, there were places like Bleacher Report, ESPN, every place on Instagram, Twitter was talking about DK Metcalf's 40 time. And I remember seeing in the I know the comments, I know you got bozos in the comments, but people in the comments talking about, oh, this guy's going to be a top 15 pick, wide receiver 1, all this stuff. And I remember the mock drafts. He was projected to be a top 20 pick, a first-round pick, and then draft day comes, and he falls all the way to the late second. Nobody thought he'd fall to the 64th pick. They were trying to sidestep the next Kevin White, Rashad Perriman, Green Beckham, those size speed guys that just end up flaming out in the NFL. In the process of trying to sidestep a guy like Perriman, White, Green Beckham, instead they sidestepped the next Julio Jones for a Perriman, White, Green Beckham type player. These guys, Paris Campbell, Andy Isabella, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, Mecole Hardman, I would be shocked if any of those guys end up in a Pro Bowl, if any of them crack like 1,100 receiving yards in a season. A lot of those guys were players that just on paper, in the combine, just didn't even have the same upside as a Metcalf. And while you're in that second round, at that point you're shooting for upside, especially at a position like wide receiver. There's not a world where any of those 4 wide receivers can be your wide receiver 1 in your NFL offense, whereas Metcalf, he looked the part of that. He looked the part of a wide receiver 1 in an NFL offense, and I just don't see how you don't, right there, you don't just draft him. And I think the biggest thing is that, like I said, they were trying to just sidestep the next size speed bust, and the problem is that he was a crazy combine athlete, but you got to provide context to these college wide receivers. DK Metcalf, his sophomore year, he broke out, which is crazy. You want your receiver to break out as a sophomore, and that's what really cements him as a good wide receiver. That's what AJ Brown did. That's what Juju Smith-Schuster did. Chris Godwin. All those great wide receivers, they break out at the very latest as a sophomore. He breaks out, not only does he break out as a sophomore, but he breaks out as a sophomore in an offense with AJ Brown, Van Jefferson. They had Dawson Knox. So those 2 wide receivers, Van Jefferson and AJ Brown, both second-round picks. And then they had Dawson Knox at tight end. So it was a stacked offense, and then they had a struggling QB, Shea Patterson, shitty-ass QB room. I don't know how that happens where you have AJ Brown, DK Metcalf, Van Jefferson, and Dawson Knox, and you don't somehow make a run at the national championship. But that's for another time. That's for the incompetence of Ole Miss. But once you add that context, you can't even compare him to a guy like Kevin White, who didn't break out until his senior year in a Big 12 offense. The SEC of 2017, 2016 is much different than the Big 12 of 2014, 2013. And not only that, he broke out as a senior. He didn't do it as a sophomore, and nobody else in that receiver room got drafted as high as an A.J. Brown or Van Jefferson. So, like I said, he was in an air raid. DK Metcalf was in an SEC offense. I just don't see how we passed up on him.